Welcome to the Boston Art Podcast. I am Brian Huntress.
I'm Theodora Earthworms.
And this is the episode.
Woo! Hello.
Back with another phone recording. I did not mentally prepare to record at all right now. For the first time in the history of the show, Theo suggested we record.
Yeah, I did.
Why did you suggest that? Why did you feel like we would record?
Because we're going on a long drive, and we usually record when we're in the car, and because I was reading about a bunch of art stuff today that I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah.
I made...
Fuck, idiots.
What?
Those two cars were almost driving parallel in the other one car lane.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Sorry.
Why did they do that?
Because they're fucking stupid.
Sorry
for interrupting you. You're reading some art stuff. I'd love to talk about art stuff you're reading. Should we talk about some of the news?
I guess so.
There is no news. Frankie Simon's show went absolutely outstanding. The body of work was like unbelievably good. Like a huge show. Like so many well done paintings. Like I don't know how long it's going to be up at the distillery. I think like maybe a month or so.
August 20th, I think it comes down.
Yeah, that information is public. But if you want to see her show at the fucking distillery while it's up, I highly suggest it. It is worth it. It was
so cool.
It exceeded all expectations. I know that Frankie's just is like a good artist anyway, so I didn't I expected it to be good, obviously. But I was very pleasantly surprised at the high caliber and quality of the show and the concept in general. And it was nice too because it was paintings.
Yeah.
I mean, concept art and installations is cool. That's fine. But it was all paintings with some sculpture, and I like that.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
And we got to see a live performance also by her music project, the Incontinence Project, which we've talked about on the podcast with Frankie before.
Yeah, and
that was so cool.
Yeah. Longtime listeners of the show will remember the Incontinence Project origin story of the title. Go listen to the first Frankie episode. Anyway, so that was cool.
Yeah.
We also went to the kickoff show for Bullpup's tour. Shout out to Trevor at Mill number 5 in Lowell.
Yeah.
Good times. It was nice to I don't know. I'm fucking up the vibe right now. I'm like talking like as if this is like a journalistic vibe. But it was fun. It was fun to see friends, familiar faces, great performances. I don't remember any of the band names except for Bullpup, but they were all great.
Matilde, JVK, Bullpup, and was that it?
And the other band, they were great. We don't mean any disrespect. We just don't have the information in front of us.
Yeah.
We just don't have it written down. We're just kind of didn't even... Anyway, but that was a great show. The name will come to us. Maybe you could pull it up on your phone.
Yeah.
The flyer or something. But
everybody did a really great job. It was a really fun vibe, and the music was amazing.
yeah, we posted pictures of our booth earlier today. Or I think I posted that. It might be in the drafts. I forget.
I am so mentally fried. We've done so much this week.
Yeah, we've done.
We've done things. I knew that.
Oh, duh.
Yeah, Matilda Heckler, JVK, and Bullpup.
Shouts out. Shouts the fuck out. Thank you for putting on such a great show. Joel Mongian of Black Market Therapy, Trevor of Bullpup, Avi, good times. Thank you for having us. Oop, some sunglasses there. So, fuck.
You good?
Oh, I've been good. I was born good. I bought a unicycle today.
Yeah, you did do that.
Off Facebook Marketplace. And as I was telling you earlier, it is unbelievably difficult to use.
Yeah.
I could not even pedal for one or two pedals without falling off of it.
I'm not surprised at all. It does not seem like an easy thing to do.
I've seen a lot of people ride them, not even just online. I've had friends that used to ride unicycles and stuff, and they just would roll right down the street, no problem, riding around, having fun.
Yeah.
My cousin Angus, I've heard, can ride unicycles. Like, people just rip unicycles, and I thought that I would be one of them, and then I could just hop on it and ride around, and I was humbled.
I think you'll get the hang of it. You just gotta learn.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Well, you just got it today.
Figured I would have to learn. Also, I got x-rayed today and found out that my tailbone, my coccyx bone, is not broken.
Yeah?
Not
really
fractured.
Well, maybe not the best news, actually, because isn't that what we were hoping for?
A coccyx contusion actually takes longer to heal than a fracture. The listeners don't know how they haven't been updated, but I sacked a handrail. I landed on my butthole on a handrail, going down a 5-stair handrail.
You didn't need to say it like that.
And I was gravely, mortally fucking wounded. It was bad. It was bad. There was no video. I just did it for no fucking reason and got fucked up. So now I can't skate for a few weeks, but I can ride a unicycle because for some reason that does not actually put that much pressure on my tailbone.
You need to get a helmet for that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did about an hour and a half sweating my soul out of my body today, trying to figure out how to ride the unicycle. Made a little bit of progress. There were no wipeouts, but I predict there will be blood with the unicycle, but I will conquer it.
Yeah,
I'm determined.
You just gotta focus on it for a couple weeks. Figure out how to balance.
Figure out how to balance.
What's up with you right now?
What do you mean?
Why do you keep sighing and saying things like you're fucking up the vibe? I'm
tired. I'm just tired. And you know me, I really, really love to record.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect to. Usually I'm like planning on it and I'm like getting all like hyped up and I'm like foaming at the mouth and ready to go.
Yeah.
But you surprised me. So now I'm just kind of like...
Welcome to
my world. Oh. So now I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway. But yeah, those are my updates. What's up?
Do you not feel like it right now?
No, I feel good. I'm down.
Oh, okay.
This is very good. It makes me feel very, very good to complete episodes.
Yeah, I know.
It is.
Me too.
I know that. So. Hell yeah. So what's new in your world? That's pretty much all my updates.
Well, I don't have a ton of updates. Those are mostly also my updates because we hang out every single day. What else do I have? I'm spending a lot of time at work because I work at work. And in my world, in the gallery work world, the big news right now is that the Barrack and Michelle Obama official presidential portraits are coming to Boston.
Oh, I heard that. That's exciting.
Everyone is flipping their shit, and it has led me to researching about presidential portraits and learning more about the artists who painted them and the rest of their work and why they were selected. And
Kehinde Wiley.
Yeah.
Painted Obama and Michelle Obama.
No.
Oh, he didn't paint Michelle.
No, different artist.
Oh, okay. So just Obama was painted by Kehinde Wiley.
Yes. I'm blanking on her name now. Amy something, I think? Let me see. Amy Sherald was the artist who painted Michelle Obama.
Did you know that I've seen those in person already?
You have?
I have.
At the National Portrait Gallery?
National Portrait Gallery in D.C. It was one of the best art museums I've been to in my life. Not number one. It's not the best one, I'd say, but it was very fucking cool because they have where they keep the presidential portraits. Basically, the room starts with George Washington. And it's just this cavern of hallways of just all of the presidential portraits of literally every one of them, all the way up to Obama.
Wow.
And I am excited to see one day if Trump ever does it. That would be fucking weird.
I was reading about that today, and I guess
do it or what?
It has been said that he is going to. Because I swear to God, I didn't find an article about it today, but I swear I remembered that he refused.
Yeah.
But I guess he didn't refuse necessarily, but he refused to do the unveiling. There's a tradition where there's an unveiling of the previous president's portrait at the National Portrait Gallery.
Right.
He refused to do that for Obama's. And a lot of presidents will announce who the artist for their piece is during their presidency. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And
a bit of pageantry,
didn't do that. I don't think chose one. I don't think has chosen one, but supposedly is still planning on doing so.
What a fucking flaming pile of shit that guy is.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm excited to see what it looks like, even though he's a piece of shit. I wonder if it's going to look like a racist boomer political cartoon. You know what I mean?
I guess it depends on who he hires to.
They just make it look like one of those horrible conservative pro-Trump memes. Because he's like, yeah, that's my aesthetic. That's how I like to be depicted.
Interesting. I wonder.
Yeah, time will tell. I mean, some of the worst fucking historically most evil presidents on earth have them. So why
sure
not him?
All have them.
Throw him up there,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be cool to have those in Boston. That'll be pretty sick. Be an honor bequeathed onto the city.
Yeah.
No, really though. That'd be cool. I will definitely be seeing that.
Yeah, it's expected to be a pretty big deal. A lot of people are looking forward to it.
So those probably haven't traveled yet then.
I don't know.
I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because I don't think they're coming until September, so.
Gotcha.
Should be.
Well, that'll go by quick. It's almost August.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the last week of July right now, man.
My birthday's next week.
Happy birthday, early.
Thanks.
I was trying to figure out if there's like an opposite word of belated that I could throw out there, but I couldn't find it.
Early?
Yeah, but I thought there might be like a random like derivative of the word early that would sound cooler.
There probably is.
But I didn't know it. I didn't know one.
Yeah, I don't know any either off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. But yeah, I was learning about Kehinde Wiley and Amy Sherald today. And I was learning about some scandals with other presidential portraits.
Really? Like what?
Well, I was reading about Bill Clinton specifically.
I've seen that one too. That's a pretty weird painting.
Which one did you see though? Because there's a painting that is really famous of Bill Clinton that was done by... What's his artist's name? Hold on, I'm going to open my Google Drive because I was taking notes on this today.
You know that the one that I saw is the one, it was very large. It was like a giant square, maybe like 8 by 8 feet. And it was painted by an abstract artist where when you look up close to it, it just looks like strange, weird patterns and forms.
Yeah.
But when you're like 20 feet away from it, it looks like a hyper-realistic portrait.
I
forget that guy's name, though. That one was in the National Portrait Gallery when I was there, which I think was like 2019.
Was it this piece?
That's it. Wait, zoom in. Does it look almost like paisley abstract patterns?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I saw.
Painted. The piece is called. Maybe it's just called William J. Clinton, but it's painted by Chuck Close.
Chuck Close.
Yeah.
What's up, Chuck Close?
In a large-scale portrait of Bill Clinton, two things stand out. The first is its size, given that the artist Chuck Close only shows Clinton's head and shoulders. This means that his face alone is several feet high, making it the same size as some of the full-length, life-size portraits in the America's Presidents exhibition. Second, while the work is based on a photograph, it is far more abstract than typical headshot. Similar to pixels on a screen, the painting is composed of hundreds of color-filled diamonds. As a result, the portrait of the 42nd president remains a puzzle-like abstraction, even though it alludes to a realistic photograph.
Just like the man himself.
So that's actually that's a pretty interesting one, but it's not the controversial one.
Oh.
If you look up Bill Clinton presidential portrait,
okay,
what Google floods you with is a piece that isn't actually his official presidential portrait, which is also a nice painting. It is... where's my fucking... Oh, here it is. It's another piece by a different artist named Nelson Shanks.
Okay.
Who painted a portrait of Bill Clinton where he's standing in front of a fireplace, I think. Yeah, and there's some interesting details about it, because he was commissioned by the National Portrait Gallery to paint this. This wasn't his official portrait, and it wasn't necessarily like endorsed by Bill Clinton. When he saw it, he really liked it, and there's public comments that he made saying that he really enjoyed the piece and he felt it was really representational of him and his identity. This is the piece. Again, for anybody listening, this is a painting by Nelson Shanks of Bill Clinton.
There's the Arkansas man.
And it's kind of a cool piece. It's a very casual pose. He's just kind of standing with his hand on his hip, sort of smiling and looking into the camera, or looking at the viewer.
It's a warm portrait.
But it isn't, because Nelson Shanks is actually very anti-Clinton. If you notice, there's some symbolism that... It's funny, because this was unveiled 2006. The Clinton loved it, whatever.
But he didn't get it, did he?
Well, there were some subtle details added to the piece that make it anti-Clinton. And so the National Portrait Gallery lent it out to an exhibition years ago and then rotated it off view, just because I think they have something like 18 portraits of Bill Clinton. That might not be the right number, but they have a lot anyway.
I'm sure there's a bunch.
And this is not an official portrait. So it was rotated into storage, which is really common for museums to do. It wasn't anything personal. But Nelson Shanks was really mad about that. In 2015, he went public with statements against the National Portrait Gallery, saying that they were bowing to pressure from the Clintons to take this piece off of view because of the subtle imagery that he put in that were anti-Clinton, that he thought that they figured out, which are, see the shadow right there?
I see the shadow.
That is the shadow of Monica Lewinsky's blue dress. It just looks like a shadow, but he painted this portrait with Bill, I believe, sat for this. This was a live portrait. But when he was not in the room, he actually brought a blue dress into the room he was painting from for background details and hung it on a mannequin so that it would make this dress form shape, and painted that shadow.
And to describe to the viewer, it's as if a woman is standing next to the like, imagine where a cameraman would be sitting to photograph a person. It's like there's a person next to the painter / cameraman casting a shadow onto the wall, aka fireplace, that former President Clinton is leaning against.
Yes, and if you look above him in the fireplace, there's a framed painting of George Washington that rests above that fireplace. Yeah, but his face is cut off, which a lot of people interpret as like he doesn't want to look upon the disgrace of the Clintons. Like his eyes are not present, and he's not wearing a wedding ring.
Clinton is not
wearing a wedding ring.
Wow, so this is a scandalous depiction of
So the actual quote was, "Maybe the painting doesn't look as formal as they wanted," Shanks said. "I rather doubt that they got the Lewinsky angle. I was never going to mention it to anyone, but with the tremendous mistreatment on my part and that it's been spirited away, I felt this was good stimulus to open a conversation." The National Portrait Gallery commonly rotates through exhibits, and sometimes work is removed from public view for a period of time, Bethany Bentley, a spokeswoman for the museum, told the USA Today. It was not taken off of view because of any outside request, she said. The gallery has space for 900 works to be displayed at any one time out of a collection of more than 22,000 items. The gallery unveiled the portrait to the public in 2006, and it hung there on and off through August of 2009. In 2011, it was on loan for a traveling display in Russia, and the gallery does not have any future rotation scheduled for it right now. So that was a whole scandal. The real presidential portrait of Bill Clinton, though, was painted by Simi Lee Knox, who was actually the first Black American to receive a presidential portrait commission.
Shouts out. Can we get a look at that one?
Yeah. Hold on. Take me a second.
Let me peep.
Simi Lee Knox. It's a much more traditional...
It's like a more conservative kind of aesthetic.
Yeah, it's still a really good painting, but it is a more, like, typical presidential portrait.
Yeah, it's pretty standard. That looks like... Yeah, if you walk through the Capitol building in Boston, you can see a long series of governor portraits of every governor of Massachusetts all the way up to Governor Baker, and they all look just like that one.
Yeah.
Where they're all just like super vanilla, like, you know, like they just hired some, I don't know, some like old guy from Scituate.
They look like political headshots.
Right.
Just guy in suit in front of American flag in office with wood.
Very,
desk.
very standard.
Yeah. Which is actually, to circle back to Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's presidential portraits.
Pretty legendary.
They are a huge departure from anything that has come before, for those who haven't thumbed through the presidential portraits. Just for the listener, in case you are interested, if you go to npg.si.edu, you can look at the National Portrait Gallery's presidential portraits on the Smithsonian website. You can actually tab through all of them and take a look at them and see, compare them.
You know what I'll do? I'll make sure they're available for use, but I'll make the fucking episode cover for this recording Obama's portrait.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Yeah. Hopefully it's not like some stupid thing. If it's property of the U.S. government because it's the official presidential portrait, that must mean that it's public domain.
Oh, you know what?
You should look up if it's public domain, or if you know.
I'll find out in a second. Hold on.
Perfect.
I fucked up. That's not the correct link. It's the whitehousehistory.org presidential portraits.
So, listener, why don't you just pop into the description real quick, and you can click that link and save that tab for later. It's there.
So you can kind of click through all of them as like a slideshow and compare. It's kind of interesting. Something that I did notice is that one of the paintings... Hold on, let me find where the other one is. There's a painting by George Peter Alexander Healy that was made in 1858 of John Quincy Adams, who's the 6th president of the United States. This is that painting. For you.
Pretty standard.
And he's sitting on a chair that has like extremely detailed arms. It's two sphinxes sitting, like that's what the arms of the chair are, is two
sphinxes each, or a sphinx on each arm?
A sphinx on each arm.
Okay.
That's like what the wood is carved into underneath where his elbow is resting.
All right.
And there's a book under the table that he's sitting against that's leaning sideways. It's like a very old bound thick book. And on the table is a drawing of George Washington. Like it looks like it's a pencil sketch, and his hand is resting open on that piece, which is kind of interesting because we've talked about this before, like Renaissance art and like commissions by popes and kings and stuff, but this is a slightly more contemporary example of political legacy building through art and portraiture. Like this, John Quincy Adams wanted to connect himself to George Washington and kind of continue a presidential legacy through this portrait, which probably had a lot of significance where he was only the 6th.
How did the sphinxes relate to connect? Do the sphinxes connect him to George Washington?
It doesn't. The drawing does, but then if you keep tabbing through the collection...
Okay.
Let me see which one it is.
Did you say that John Quincy Adams commissioned this? Or wanted... How did you say that again? Or what did that mean?
This is... I didn't say that. I don't know.
Okay, I misheard you. Sorry.
I think that the tradition now is that the sitting president or the previous president, whenever they do it, if it's in their administration or not, commissions the artist and has them do it and like they choose them, but I don't know if that was the case at the time.
Okay, gotcha, for sure.
But the artist is George Peter Alexander Healy, and he painted that painting of John Quincy Adams. He also painted the Franklin Pierce portrait, who's the 14th president of the United States.
Never even heard of that guy.
I know. But if you look at the backdrop that he's painted against, it's the exact same thing. It's the same chair with the Sphinx and the same book leaning against the same table. And his hand is on a stack of papers as well.
That's some Illuminati shit.
But
and both by Healy, right?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, it's not subtle. It's the exact same painting. But instead of sitting with his palm open and the portrait of George Washington in the foreground, that's a very distracting car. He's standing with one hand on the papers, his shadow falls across the chair, and he's looking straight at the viewer, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I wonder why Healy included these sphinxes. Do you think it was to try to invoke a kind of like ancient sense of imperialism and authority? Like, you know, because like you think of the Sphinx as like this symbol of like deep like ancient power.
Yeah. And
like Egypt, and like that was really common in American history for the government. Like the government, if the people in the audience don't know, has like a long history of appropriating basically just ancient aesthetic, whether it be African or Greek or whatever, into our government buildings. Like all of our columns and shit like that, and our Washington D.C. architecture is like Greek, like Greco, like style architecture. Peninsulas, what the fuck? What are they fucking called? Obelisks, for example, are not a European invention. Like those are those are Egyptian, I believe, or maybe multiple types of things. But those are, you know, this symbol of authority and ownership and government and power, and you know, those are a very old symbol as well. You know, think Washington Monument.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's a little bit on the nose. Like, I think it would be very strange if that happened in modern times. Like, some like the America try to use like a sphinx to symbolize some American thing. Like, I mean, think the fucking pyramid on the dollar. Isn't there a pyramid on our fucking money?
Yeah.
There you like, it's like there. That's another one. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I wonder if that's the pyramid on the arm. I mean, the sphinx in the arms of the chair. It sounds like a pretty sick chair. I would definitely.
Oh, I know. It's a beautiful chair.
I would sit down and vibe on a chair like that.
It is really interesting though, because I'm also tabbing through this now. I didn't realize this in my first go around, but Healy actually painted a couple of presidential portraits, and they didn't all have that same visual reference, which was interesting.
Oh.
George Washington's first presidential portrait, obviously because he was the first one,
Gotcha.
was painted in 1797, which he was.
That's why we see him bald with white hair.
Why?
Well, because he was an older man.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't during his, like,
what?
active, like, days where, you know...
Well, this says he was... Was this true? He was president from 1789 to 1797? Does that sound right?
I don't know. I mean, the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, but that isn't necessarily when the United States government, like, began, like, because they had the war to fight. So I think that math probably makes sense, that maybe he was declared or voted unanimously as the president that year.
Yeah, April 30th,
1789
to March 4th, 1797.
That's how long the revolution was?
That's how long he was president.
That's how long he was president. Oh, right. What the fuck am I talking about? Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
So this was commissioned the last year that he was in office.
Wow, legendary.
So he probably had a hand in choosing the artist.
Yeah.
This one was also... No. Okay, interesting. This was a painting of John Adams. It's just his official presidential portrait. It was painted by John Trumbull between 1792 and 1793, but John Adams was president from 1797 to 1801. So this was painted before he was actually president.
Oh, but they just used it as his presidential portrait?
Yeah.
Who was it again?
John Adams.
Wasn't he famously a fucking awful president?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he sucked ass.
Really? Damn.
Yeah. Anyway, was he the third president?
Second.
Oh, he was second. Yeah, I think he famously, because he had a deep running horrible feud with Thomas Jefferson,
who was the third president of the United States.
Yeah.
His portrait was painted in 1800, and he was president from 1801 to 1809. So he got right on this shit.
Actually, you know what's funny about John Adams is he has an interesting thing in common with Donald Trump, I believe.
Interesting.
Fact check me on this if you want, but I'm pretty sure him and Donald Trump are the only two presidents to not attend the inauguration of their, what's the word?
Their successor?
Their successor, exactly. Where
I
John Adams...
That is true.
Yeah, John Adams was like, fuck this guy, and he just left the fucking Capitol, like, in the middle of the night because he fucking hated Jefferson so much.
Interesting.
And I'm pretty sure that didn't Trump do that with Biden? Where he didn't attend for the inauguration?
Yeah, he didn't attend.
Fuck you, Donald Trump. You bag of shit.
I wonder if that is why they used an old portrait. Maybe he just never got to it.
Yeah, that's true. Because it wasn't his son would later become president as well, right? John Quincy Adams?
Yeah. I believe
Tell us about this one you got in front of us.
So this is the fourth president, James Madison.
Oh.
He was president from 1809 to 1817, and his portrait was by John Vanderlyn in 1816. Another thing that I find interesting about these pieces is the dimensions.
They all seem to be that kind of, what is it? That 1:2 aspect ratio, 16:20, 30:40 kind of vibe.
Yeah, this painting of George Washington is 95 by 59 inches. The John Adams one is 30 by 24. Thomas Jefferson is 23 by 19.
Are these... Oh, you're saying the height first. I think my brain always wants to read the smaller number first.
Oh.
Because I always, like, when somebody says 24 by 18, I'm imagining it's a landscape for some reason.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I feel like there's some official capacities where people do the height width in whatever.
I don't know. I'm just reading it off the thing. I never thought about it before. 16 by 20. Yeah. Interesting. I guess
Gold
we do
ratio.
usually do the
I mean, it's an aspect ratio that's as old as sin.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what people have been doing that since the fucking beginning of pictures.
What, 16 by 20?
Well, that ratio.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of classical sizes in an old painting, but that did not stand the test of time. Somebody was telling me about this one time, so my information is completely secondhand, but there's a lot of like weird ones, like 12 by 24, or like, I don't know, there's like Renaissance dimensions. You know what I mean? For like some of the smaller works where they would be, because like they had different, like now when you go to a store, everything is 16 by 20, 18 by 24, 30 by 40, I don't know, 24 by 36 or something. Yeah. Like you would be, it would be difficult to find something that was like 12 by 20.
Yeah. Unless
you made it yourself. That would be like a very uncommon size.
Well, the thing about that too that I feel like is kind of weird to think about, is that part of that, like we have to think about when buying canvases and painting images, how it's going to look when we upload it to like a CV, I mean like a portfolio or like an online gallery. Like if you're going to distribute it, you're going to sell it, unless you're doing only like brick and mortar art shows, people need to be able to consume that online, and most websites that host images are expecting a certain ratio.
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting point, because like iPhone videos, for example, are 9 by 16 aspect ratio. Like, you know, like TikTok, like, or whatever, like Upward phone, that's 9 by 16. And that's actually not I forget what 16 by 22 would convert to as like an aspect ratio, which is the canvas size and ratio that I pretty much exclusively am using for my art, at least.
Yeah.
You do that too, because that's just the intuitive thing that we do. We paint on rectangles.
Yeah.
Up right side up rectangles. But I actually find that if you paint or you make your images in the in iPhone aspect ratio 9 by 16, I feel like they look terrible on the screen when they're like that.
Really?
Because when you post to Instagram, the photo never takes up the whole screen. You can't click on the photo. You are seeing it framed by the Instagram interface. So a lot of the time, squares and rectangles actually are more suitable for something like Instagram.
Yeah.
If we're talking about something like Flickr, or like you said, an online gallery, or even Facebook would do this, you would be able to see the actual image blown up to all edges of your phone screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So 9 by 16 might work if you are on a website that you can click on. But Instagram, in my opinion, rectangles and squares are the way to go.
Yeah, you know, you might be right actually about that. Most of my images that I upload to Instagram, I do try to keep in a square. I just feel like it looks neater.
For sure, I agree. What a strange thing. I'm fucking loving this episode, dude.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Well,
let's keep it going.
We could go through all of the presidential portraits if you want.
Oh, let's do it.
I mean, I was reading a lot.
Just a side note, sorry, we need an address.
Oh,
I'm just aimlessly driving to the town.
So I have the address, but how are we going to do this? Do you want me to not be using my phone?
What? No, well,
GPS there, right?
Yeah.
So your phone is recording.
I can't GPS on my phone.
Yeah, but I was also looking at the.
Well, could it go in the background? I don't need to be like monitoring the GPS at all times.
Okay, you don't mind.
Even if it's just in the background, if you just let me know, like, oh, hey, turn in a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry, I feel like I just violated the flow.
No, it's okay.
That was such a weird way to put it. It's so funny. But yeah, man, historical portraits of our American predecessors and leaders, flawed and at times demonic as they may be. I love this history, man, and the aesthetics and the paintings and all that. Pull up some shit. Let's talk about some paintings. Tell me what you think.
5 minutes away.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you for listening. This ends our segment
on the Obama portraits, soon to be in Boston this fall. That'll be a dream. That'll be cool to go see them. Get your tickets now, because I have heard from somebody, a little bird, that the tickets will probably sell out pretty fast. So if you care about that, go buy the tickets. Anyway, we're going to continue this episode with a new discussion, starting with the first plastic item. What was it? I don't know. All right, keep listening. Bye-bye.
The first ever...
Wait, so we're trying to figure out
what the first plastic item was.
the first, because you think about it, we got like ancient terracotta items, ancient pieces of ceramic art, ancient sandstone shit. Ugh, excuse me. But what was the first plastic item? Do you have an answer? Mm-hmm. What did Google tell us?
So, something called Parkesine. Its inventor, the Birmingham-born... Alright, I don't know what this means, but they call him an artisan cum chemist.
Artisan cum chemist?
Probably not.
How do you spell cum? C-U-M?
Yeah.
He's an artisan cum.
Artisan-cum-chemist.
Okay,
but
so...
this is like a real article from sciencemuseum.org.
Birmingham cum chemist. What's his name?
Alexander Parks.
Birmingham cum chemist Alexander Parks.
Patented a new material.
Got it.
Wait, shit, I lost my place. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
I tried to click into it and it was in the middle of the article. Patented a new material in 1862 as Parkesine. Considered the first manufactured plastic, it was a cheap and colorful substitute for ivory or tortoiseshell. What's the first item, though?
Tortoiseshell. Is that where tortoiseshell glasses come from, you think?
Yeah, the actual tortoiseshell.
I thought tortoiseshell glasses were a style of shape.
It's a style... Oh, maybe it's a shape.
They're not made out of
No,
tortoise shells.
The pattern is from tortoiseshell.
They kill the tortoises to make the glasses? That can't be right.
The pattern looks like tortoiseshell.
So it's an aesthetically looks like the tortoise shell of a tortoise. Okay.
But before plastic, they used tortoiseshell to make things like that. Like ivory and tortoiseshell.
Oh.
So at one point, yes, but now they use plastic. But the reason that pattern exists is to replicate that.
So, what my question is, though, is there an artifact? Is there a specimen out there floating around in the unknown that is the first and earliest plastic artifact? Maybe it's a plastic ingot or some kind of filament or a tortoiseshell glasses fragment. The first plastic item.
I'm trying to find out, but I don't think so.
Because, is there a substance on Earth that represents the modern humans better than than plastic?
Probably not, honestly.
Maybe not. Maybe like quartz crystals from AliExpress.
So I was oh my god.
Or I don't know.
Like a sheen dress.
Sheen dress. Yeah, there you go.
I was reading about something adjacent to this, actually, the other day, and I wanted to talk to you about it on the podcast, so I've just been saving it in my head.
Hit me.
There is a concept in most property insurance policies, and this is relevant to fine arts because of what I'm about to say, that eliminates coverage for loss caused by a quality in the property that causes it to damage or destroy itself, called inherent vice.
Inherent vice?
Yes.
So
say you made an art piece. The example that was used in the article was this one artist, I'm going to try and find the name of them, who made a bunch of pieces with early plastics that art museums purchased, but we didn't know enough about plastic to understand that if not stored correctly, it will warp and clear plastic will turn yellowy and it'll get gross and it won't be as vibrant.
Whoa, well that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you have a clear, let me see.
Some kind of epoxy that ended up turning milky and yellow or something.
This is an example, yeah. This person made a sculpture in 1937 called Construction in Space, 2 Cones. It was constructed in a material that was pioneering at the time, but which proved not to endure. And it was a plastic composite. Naum Gabo is the name of the artist. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's Naum, last name Gabo. He made a pioneering series of sculptures in plastic back in the 1930s, and he was following the fine artistic principle of experimenting with a then new material, offering an intriguing combination of transparency and flexibility. What he couldn't know was that his chosen material would warp and crumble over the ensuing decades. So, the reason that this ties into inherent vice is because if you are a gallerist or a collector, and you're looking to purchase pieces that are made, especially by contemporary artists right now, that involve, say, a dead animal, their performance piece maybe that's going to like rot and fall apart, something that's made with non-archival materials, there's a clause in artwork insurance policies called inherent vice, in which you cannot sue for an insurance claim or go in for an insurance claim on a piece that falls apart due to something that is inherent to the nature of the piece.
Like, for example, if you were a gallery that or a large estate and you purchased like a series of drawings on newsprint paper and like charcoal drawings, and you didn't store them correctly or something, and the newsprint started to disintegrate because it's acidic and not archival, if that were included in the clause, the paper destroying itself because of its acidity you wouldn't be able to be like, hey, fucking J.B. Wellington artist that I purchased these from.
So,
fuck you.
I
don't know what the fuck I'm
Two
saying.
things there, because I don't think that's how the insurance clause would work anyway. I don't think you can go back to the artist once you purchased it. You would go to the insurance company, as if you totaled your car. Like, if you crashed your car, you wouldn't go back to the person who sold it to you. You'd call your insurance.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why you would get artwork insurance if you had a collection this large, or if you're a museum or something. Very high above my pay grade, but people who have real art collections have to worry about that.
Those fuckers.
But I don't think that would count because you're talking about you storing it improperly. So that's a little bit gray. But, for example, Damien Hirst's shark sculpture, the physical impossibility of death in the mind of someone
rotting
living.
Or something?
I was going to tell you.
Oh. Well, okay.
The piece is called The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living. And he made it in 1991. But he did not use... I don't know what actual material he used, because this article that I'm reading from the BBC just says he did not use the right kind of pickle to preserve the fish.
You didn't pickle it right.
He didn't pickle it right. But it actually began to cause it to decompose more quickly. And its preserving liquid clouded, the skin wrinkled, and it smelled terrible. So... even though it was rotting really quickly, somebody bought it in 2004, and Hearst tried to sort out the problem by skinning the shark and putting the skin of the shark over a... what is it?
He tried to taxidermy it.
Yeah, he put it over a fiberglass frame, but it
Okay.
just made it look completely cheap, and he had to start from scratch.
Why didn't the dickhead just replace the shark?
Good question.
Just get
I
a
don't
new
know.
shark.
Maybe because it was, like, supposed to look like the original shark. I don't know, maybe there was an attachment
How
to it.
different? What, you can tell two sharks apart
Maybe.
in a lineup?
Probably. I don't know.
Probably not.
Maybe he had a little
If you had
freckle.
10 sharks and one of them like was your pet, and then
Absolutely.
they shuffled themselves together and you had to pick...
If I had a room full of orange tabbies, I would know where Milo was.
That's an interesting question.
I absolutely
We'll have
would.
to try that one day.
No, I would, because he has a little freckle on his lip.
He does. He's so cute.
Anyway,
What a sweet guy.
if you buy okay, to simplify this a little bit, if you buy a piece that involves a dead animal, and then try to go to your insurance company 6 years later because it has mold now, that's an inherent vice.
They're gonna say inherent vice, bro. You should have known that there would be mold and the animal's organs rotting and bubbling out of its skin.
Yes.
Idiot. Why'd you buy a dead animal for $200,000, you fuckhead?
Yeah. Like, some of these pieces are not... It's not logical
Be like,
that it would
Damien
stay.
Hirst killed it.
I don't think he killed the shark.
I think he did. I'm just kidding. Spreading misinformation.
There's another...
Probably bought it from like a marine biologist or a fucking aquarium or something.
Well, it's interesting to think about that, though, because I feel like from the perspective of being, like, a painter or whatever, I think a lot, I know you think a lot, about the idea of archival materials and making something that's going to last and leaving a legacy. But there are so many artists, like performance artists and a lot of conceptual artists, that make work that is not... It's not even logical to think that it would still exist in 5 years.
I mean, you want to talk inherent vice of documented media? Dude, like, for example, like, VHS tapes can rot.
Yeah.
Tapes rot and degrade, and, like, or books have to be stored in a highly specific way. Manuscripts, papers, inks, like let alone, like, we don't even know. We, like, motherfuckers are scanning all their shit and digitizing stuff and keeping them in hard drives. But, like, we don't know what the fuck we're gonna have excuse me. We don't know what the fuck we're gonna have access to. Like, you tell me right now, like, dude, if somebody, like, okay, like, you couldn't get information off of a floppy disk right now, like, for any amount of money.
Yeah.
Like, gun to your head, tell me what's on the floppy disk. You have 24 hours. Could you even do that?
Probably not.
I would die.
Can I Google it?
Sure, but I mean, maybe that would help, but it's like, even at that, you're going to have to buy the equipment. You're going to have to buy and build a computer from, like, the year 1999.
Yeah.
And then operate it, hope it fucking works. I don't know, I'm just saying. So, like, and we live in a culture where it's just, like, technology is, like, rapidly fucking destroying itself and rebuilding itself and changing and phasing out parts. Nothing, absolutely nothing is interchangeable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're already seeing, like, we're years past the first laptops with no SD slot.
Yeah. And
Like,
it's structured that way on purpose, because if you, like we were talking about before we started recording, if you have a piece of technology from, like, 2010, it doesn't work not because it doesn't exist or because it's cracked or something, but because that shit's old. They want you to buy the new shit.
yeah.
You know?
And you gotta think too about, like, the parts inside of the device itself, like the soldering, like the plastic of, like, the microchips inside of it, like the wire, like, all of that shit will degrade as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't speak to the technical makeup of, like, an iPhone, but, like, I can't imagine that one could sit for 400 years and then just be turned on again.
Yeah.
Cars can't even fucking do that after 10 years or 5 years.
Well,
I don't know.
No, you're right.
I might be talking out of my ass right now, but, like, your sensitive and archived information on computers probably isn't safe.
Yeah.
Like, that probably isn't the final step of securing the longevity of your important, enduring documents.
Interesting.
Just saying. I don't, like, I'm not saying I don't trust computers, and I scan all my shit and document it digitally all the time. But there will be a time when my technology is obsolete, and there will be a time where I die. I'll fucking die one day, and who knows what'll, like I have all of these episodes, for example, backed up onto my computer.
That you are the only one who has a password too.
Yeah, and it's like 9 gigabytes of audio recordings.
Jesus.
Like, one day, I don't know, unless I have, like, some success and notoriety, and there's, like, people in the world that want to possess and preserve my creations, I'm gonna have to figure out how to store that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there are probably hundreds of thousands or possibly thousands of hours of television from the 20th century that will never exist again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like on a wild tangent right now.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it is interesting. There are websites, I'm trying to remember the name of the one that I was on the other day with my friends, but there are archives that are meant just for shit like that. That just have, like, hours and hours and hours of footage of, like, ad reel, or, like, the music from Macy's, the 2004 that played over the loudspeaker, or, like, random YouTube shit.
Are you talking about archives.org? Or, like, I think there is a website literally called, like, Archive. So
It might be.
I used to get stock footage from public domain footage from those websites.
They're good
to use
resources.
in, like, random videos that I was making.
To circle back a little bit, though, the reason that I thought the inherent vice thing was really interesting is because I feel like a criticism that I see all the time that felt kind of wrong to me, but also, like, whatever, not my bag, I guess, but that I see of contemporary art a lot is people saying that you can make whatever the fuck you want and that you can make $1 million off of it. But, and I mean, it's true that there are some people that are making art that is very highly conceptual, but inherent vice is a reason why, if you think about it from an actual, like, market standpoint, a collector or a buyer might not invest in you because there's no protection for the work that you're supplying. If you're making all work that is like meant to decompose or that is performance based, like there was this one artist, I'm gonna Google her name right now, but I remember the name of the piece. It's called the Every Artist Gave a Breath, I think. Every Artist Gave a Breath. And basically, she passed around a petri dish. From 1989, the artist is Liz Larner. And she passed around a petri dish and had a group of artists exhale into it, and then closed it off and allowed the bacteria to create blooms inside the petri dish. And that was the piece, and it was put on display until the bacteria like bubbled over and whatever grew in it turned black and died. Whatever gallery showed that, that's like buying a movie ticket, kind of. Like, you don't have an asset now because that piece is intended to self-immolate. Fun fact, by the way, that spontaneous combustion is also included in inherent vice clauses. Just in case.
You mean like just in case the art piece fucking just explodes somehow?
Any kind of property. If it just randomly burns down, inherent vice.
Well, that's fair. Would that include like a house fire?
I don't really know. I was just Googling, but yeah.
Now, this would be an interesting type of person to interview as
I was
somebody.
thinking that.
Yeah, who specializes in
fine
insuring.
arts insurance?
Yeah, it's insuring artworks.
Yeah.
Or a cab, but wouldn't it be cool to interview somebody who specialized in art crimes?
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Anyway, but yeah, that's something that I think that performance artists have dealt with for like a bazillion years, where like I've thought about this many times with music, where like we live in an era like they've, what am I trying to say? My math might be wrong here, but they've only been able to record things like music and voice for like what, 200 years max, less, a little bit more, give or take.
Yeah.
Is that stupid? Is that stupid math? I don't even know.
I know what you're saying.
But like, and even at that, we have only been able to just instantly and easily record, like on a dime, whatever we want, if you have the resources.
For like 20 years, maybe?
Yeah, 20 years digital. Like 20 or 30 years we've been able to do that digitally. And it's been barely that, like our whatever. But I'm just saying, like, that means that there's been like probably over 1,000 years of music where the only time the art existed was when the artist was there playing it.
That's interesting. That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, it is, in terms of music history, it is a new thing to consider the recorded piece the piece.
The artist is not present.
Maybe they distributed it in different ways. Like I mean, there's an infinite history of music passed down orally, just songs being passed on to people, and it wasn't necessarily something someone owned.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, you would collect songs or family songs that were passed down and sang together, and maybe your neighbors would be singing a different version of the same song that their grandmother sang. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were like a lot of things like that, but I think maybe there could have been distribution in terms of the written music. You know, because the printing press has been around for a very long time, and I'm sure they were printing sheet music.
Yeah.
And you know, colonial America and old England, I'm sure they had some type of weird primitive copyright laws on their writing and music and shit. That's another interesting question, but I digress quite a bit. I guess I'm just saying that it's just a very modern thing to have so much emphasis on the recording as this pinnacle of performance, moment, or time documentation.
Yeah.
Because the painting just exists. Like, it's a fucking object. So does the sculpture. You know what I mean? Like, they're there.
Yeah.
Like, it's there in space. And it can be preserved, it can be destroyed, it can be sold, it can be fucking burned, like, whatever. But the musical piece is not.
That's interesting.
And the dance is not. The routine is not. The comedy act is not there. It has to be documented in order to to be repeatedly distributed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually am realizing that I had an overall point that I was marathoning towards and have not arrived at and forgot.
That's okay. Were you going to connect it to the art market point at all?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, oh yeah, I was going to connect it to that. You're right.
It sounded like you were about to do that. I was waiting for it, but then I didn't hear it.
I just forgot. I forgot that I was doing that.
I mean, it was interesting.
I guess I was just saying that I don't think like dancers or performance artists or something, or someone like Marina Abramovic who's doing these like high concept performance pieces, like I have serious doubts that any of those people got involved in that with like economic aspirations. You know, and everyone, you know, it's like the artist isn't in it for the money, but it's just like, prove it. You know, and it's like you can prove that by becoming a career performance artist because, you know, like it or not, Marina Abramovic, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe this is like a hot take, but she's like the premier performance artist of the contemporary world.
I think that's probably true.
She's the fucking main one that everyone knows about. She's just the one.
She's a big dog.
Maybe there's more. I mean, obviously
Maybe
there's
more.
more. There's obviously more. There's probably some wildly popular and amazing people that I just don't know about. But I think that she is an economic anomaly as well, where it's just like, how the fuck is she even making any money? How does she have employees? Like, museums are paying her to do these, like...
She makes mad money.
I'm sure she's got loot.
She also has had a very long career, though, and wasn't making loot in the beginning.
Yeah, I believe that. I completely respect her. I'm just saying, like, it's probably a surprise to her too, because she and I would guess, I don't know anything about her really beyond a few documentaries, but I would guess that wasn't the point, obviously. But I feel like that's not a sentiment shared by many people making art right now, where like that's like a different thing with music too, where there's a lot of people who want to make money from their music and succeed and sell things, and I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm ending my tangent right now. I keep being like acting like I'm about to say a grander thing, and I'm just not.
Okay.
Sorry.
You don't have to.
I don't know. Beep,
yeah.
beep, beep, beep.
I don't know. I was thinking about that recently because of some other conversations we've been having lately, and I don't know. Like, I think that that's true, but I also feel like it's difficult to say. Like, I don't think it's necessarily all-encompassing to say that that's everybody's motivation, because it's not like you can really opt out of that and still have, like if you want to make art every day, you have to make money at it or you will die. Like, you're already within the system that you need money to survive within, and you can't opt out of that. So, unless you... Like, if you have enough money to be comfortable without it, or if you have another way of getting income, maybe somebody saying that they don't care about making money makes sense. But I also feel like the people that are saying that they would like to be paid, it's not necessarily because they're making art for that reason, or like that's one of their main goals with their art. That can be true for a lot of people, but I think it's an inherent aspect of any kind of work that takes up most of your time, because if you're doing that, you're not doing something else that can pay you better.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to prove that you are worthy of having art as a job, because it's a job that nobody wants you to have.
Yeah.
The art world doesn't even want you to be an artist, I feel like sometimes.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like, you want to be a full-time artist. You want to get paid for this shit? All right. Fucking make it happen. Go out there and prove it. You fucking dick.
Wait,
that's not how I feel. That's how I feel the world looks. That's how I feel about myself.
Interesting.
Like, it's just like, oh yeah, I want to be a fucking astronaut. Or like, yeah, I want to be like a professional jet ski rider, pro wrestler. Go ahead. Go try to be an artist. And I feel like that's kind of a unique challenge, because it's a pipe dream idea for a lot of people, where it's a silly thing. Like, there's like, you know, it's like a common, like, it's like a stupid parenting stereotype where it's like, great, my kid has an Etsy shop and isn't going to college.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a joke. I don't know what I'm saying, but like, I just feel like it's a stigmatized aspiration where you are seen as somebody with their head in the clouds or somebody who's like completely arrogant or delusional.
Well, I feel like the reason for that is like what we were saying earlier, that you have to make money to survive as an adult in a capitalistic society. Like, you need to be able to feed yourself, you need to be able to pay for a place to live. Those things get more and more expensive the older you get. If you have kids or a family or anything like that, like, you don't get to say that you don't care about money. Because you can't just build a house on a farm and live your days cottagecore style. As much as I would kill to do that, it's not an option. Unless you have startup funds, or you have a safety net, or you have a way to make your actual day-to-day survival happen. So, I think a lot of people see it as a reckless thing if you don't have an actual plan. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's also hard to conceptualize for a lot of people that aren't actively in the arts world how you can make money within it. Because a lot of it is kind of abstract, and there are a lot of jobs that exist and pay decently that people don't know about unless they're part of it, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely... Sorry, I was just like... I just spaced out for a hot second there. But, yeah, there are infinite roads. And not all of them are created equally at all. I don't know. Let's regroup here. What are we even talking about right now? I'm sorry. I'm listening to you. I care about what you're saying. You're very awesome. I love you.
I love you too.
Sorry.
It's alright.
I don't know. I'm not saying that anybody is like lesser than or bad for doing something for money at all. I do a lot of things for money solely because I want money.
Yeah.
Even artistically. Sometimes I do shit just because I'm like, maybe this will make me money. And I don't care about it at all.
Yeah, I'm saying that I feel like that is necessary to do.
Gotcha. I think I just felt weird because I thought that I had made myself sound like I was like, whoa, real artists don't even care.
No,
and that isn't what I meant.
I'm
obviously.
saying, I was thinking that what you were saying was that people who say that they don't care about making money on their art are either lying or have it figured out already.
Oh, I might have insinuated that, but that's not really like a good point.
Yeah, because I don't
know. I didn't mean to. That's stupid, I guess.
Alright.
I don't fucking know what I'm saying. I'm sorry.
It's alright.
Yeah, see, I believe you, and I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too.
Sorry.
Interesting. Because we just talked about that a couple of times in the last week or so. So I just didn't know.
Yeah, I think I was just talking stupid, right? I was just talking shit. I don't stand by anything I said. My bad.
Okay, that's fine. It's like that sometimes.
I didn't mean to insinuate. I don't want to say what I'm about to say because I feel like it's going to fuck up the recording.
Do you want to pause it?
No.
What are you going to say?
We need the GPS where we're going.
Oh, true. Hold on, I'll do it.
Okay, cool. I think this is a rare opportunity where we can mention where we're going.
Yeah.
Going to see Mitski tonight.
Yeah.
At the Roadrunner, a venue I've never been to before.
Me neither.
Hopefully it'll be fun. Shout out to Mitski. It's really funny because we literally talked about, like 2 episodes ago, lying to people about listening to Mitski.
Yeah.
And now we're going.
Well, it was unexpected.
Right, we got the tickets last minute.
My friend Kate was sick and couldn't go. And I feel really bad.
Oh, poor Kate. Shouts out. We're so sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for the tickets, though.
Thanks. We're going to have bunches of fun. Anyway. But yeah, hey, quick little business meeting.
Okay.
I'm thinking about attaching this recording to the tail end of the presidential portraits episode.
Okay.
As that was a shorty.
Yeah.
So this will be like a double feature where they'll get the content and discussion about the presidential portraits, and it'll transition into an episode about this. I forget what we talked about in much depth.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
Whatever. I don't know. Just to get it out there, get our people listening.
We'll have phone quality in the beginning and audio recorder quality in the end.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Theo. I love you.
I love you too.
I feel like I'm a pain in the ass person to have a conversation with occasionally.
What do you mean?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know. I felt like I twisted up the conversation in a way that I didn't even mean it.
It's okay.
Okay.
You're all right.
I love you
I love you
very,
too.
very much. My favorite podcaster is you.
It's me.
It's you.
Aw, you're my favorite podcaster.
Thanks.
Did you think the inherent vice stuff was interesting?
Did I think what advice?
The inherent vice thing that I was talking about was
Oh
interesting.
yeah, that was sick. That was very, very illuminating discussion.
You're supposed to go down there.
I fucked up. I saw that I was missing that exit, but if I had tried to take it anyway, I would have risked our safety.
That's fair.
So I decided not to.
I appreciate you not risking your safety.
Anytime. I only like to risk my safety in fun ways. Also,
That's
update
true.
on the unicycle situation.
Oh my god.
It's real hard. I'm still trying. We're gonna get there though.
Did you tell them about the unicycle situation?
Yeah, earlier this episode, but we're recording this like a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's been a couple.
So yeah, that was a bit of a redundant update, but
Yeah.
we're
Did you tell them
unicycling,
that you
guys.
got X-rays.
yeah, I did mention the X-ray situation. My tailbone, aka my coccyx bone. It's such an awkward like name to say. It still very much is in deep, horrible pain. For anybody that doesn't know, it's the pointy part of your tailbone.
I think it's your whole tailbone.
Well, I
Is it?
think that part specifically is called the coccyx.
Really?
Sure, yeah.
Oh. That's cool.
So we're back in the tunnel. We haven't been stuck in traffic in the tunnel on an episode in quite some time, man.
It's true.
Yeah, I think the last one might have been some random hybrid filler episode I made about that I stitched together. Got a week off.
Aren't you glad that we took your car?
Yes, even though I voted your car.
Paul Jewett Construction Company. I wonder
Hey.
if we're related.
Shout out Paul Jewett, random fucking person.
Do you know Ben Jewett Construction Company? My dad. We have the same truck.
My dad.
My dad?
Man,
Yeah.
life's good, Theo.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dog. What do you think? Should we wrap this one up?
How long is it?
31 minutes.
We could.
Between this one and your presentation on the presidential portraits this has been a really awesome episode.
Yeah.
Also, you came out of the cut with some research presentations to hit me with.
I've been.
High five.
Thanks.
Well, I feel like this is like the. Have you done? Maybe there's been some other episodes where you did that kind of thing. I felt like these ones were like really like
Yeah, it was.
pretty strong. Like I really loved it.
Thanks.
Because I didn't know that we were going to talk about the Obama portraits or vice.
Inherent vice.
Inherent
I
vice.
forget what it is all the time, but I've been trying to write down the things that I talk about at work in a Google Doc with articles, because at my job right now, I work with all artists. I work at an arts organization. And all
Baller
day,
move.
every day, when we don't have visitors, we're just talking about art shit and about weird things like art insurance and like online archives of old media and like just art nerd things. And I just talk about this stuff and forget about it. So I've started. We are also all on computers, and we can only access like Safari. So we're just
So
fact checking
you're,
everything all day long.
Just Wikipedia and shit.
Yeah. I got a really big Wikipedia hole about ghost ships recently, too. I was also really obsessed with that for a while.
Dude, let's do a ghost ship episode.
Did I already? I feel like I might have.
I think you might have touched on it, but
Should I do it
dude,
again?
you know what you should do? Should
I do a fully researched episode
I
on
think you
ghost
should
ships?
pick like 5 or 6 like really significant ghost ship situations
Okay.
and then lay it on the podcast. It'll be the ghost
So,
ship special.
I have some ghost ship stories. I also have some just general ghost stories. I know of a vampire ring story that is kind of cool.
Yeah, see, let's get those going.
Some urban legends.
See, I think that I can speak for the listeners when I say right now that this direction for you is awesome.
I really like
do
researching
this.
stuff.
Well, I know that, and it's awesome, but you should bring it to the show.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't...
No, yeah. I think I can do that.
I love you.
I love you too. I think
You think what?
I think that we should be parked next time that we record, though.
Why?
Because.
We occasionally just try to crush out an episode real quick.
I think we do better when we're parked at like a beach or something.
Sure.
Because whoever's driving is always distracted.
You think I'm distracted?
Not right now.
I've been on a tangent this whole episode.
Yeah.
That's distracted?
You said in the middle of it that you forgot what we were talking about.
I mean, I did forget that it started off on the subject of inherent vice, but
That's okay. It's a hard term to remember.
Right. That I just learned. But I also, the main thing that I forgot and didn't know what I was talking about was because I went on a long monologue about something that I forgot what I was even saying.
About like digital archiving.
Yeah, I was just on
It's a move. It was an interesting tangent. I liked it.
Thanks. Shuts up.
My GPS isn't working, but you're taking Storo, so you know.
Oh, okay. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's the next exit.
I have a headache.
Alright, let's shut this shite off.
Okay.
Thank you to our listeners.
Thank you. Thank you
guys
to
are
our
great.
corporate sponsor, McDonald's.
Shout out. We love that shit. Always sipping on that Sprite.
Ew.
I clean my car with that shit.
You drink Sprite. I don't.
McDonald's Sprite only. I don't drink Sprite from anywhere else.
Disgusting.
Anyway, alright guys. Love you all. Thank you for listening.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you to Theo for these two lovely presentations.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Boston Art Podcast is an independent DIY production by Brian Huntress and Theodora Earthworms. The information contained in this episode represents the views and opinions of the original creators or our guests, and does not represent any institution, organization, or business. Find us on Instagram at Boston Art Podcast, and tune in for a new episode every Friday. Thank you for listening.